Good afternoon, and welcome to this edition of Disability Chat. Each month, HDSA and our resident disability expert, Allison Bartlett, will tackle some of the most vexing issues surrounding disability and HD. At the end of each chat, Allison will take questions from the audience. It's easy to ask a question. All questions will be answered after the presentation, but you can send a question at any time during Allison's presentation. Just click on the chat function in the toolbar, type your question, and hit send. Your questions can't be seen by anybody else, only by those of us here at HDSA. And this presentation will be available in about a week on HDSA's YouTube channel or by going to hdsA.org/disability-chat with no space between disability chat. Today's chat will focus on work credits and how to qualify for disability. On October 21st, we will discuss the 5-step evaluation, how Social Security evaluates a disability claim, and what evidence you need. Now, a little bit about our presenter, Allison. Allison is our manager of disability programs and is a disability attorney who specializes in representing clients with rare chronic conditions like HD to navigate them through the complex disability system. She's passionate and a great advocate for HD families throughout the disability process and in the community, attending many HD advocacy days and giving disability trainings on multiple HD education days. Allison holds a JD from the University of Cincinnati College of Law and a BA in International Affairs from James Madison University. And now I'll turn our chat over to Allison. Our apologies. We seem to be experiencing momentary technical difficulties. Please stand by and we'll be with you in a moment. Thank you for your patience. Allison had a small problem with her audio, and we are in the process of rectifying it. So just if you hang on for a moment longer, we'll be very appreciative of your patience. Our apologies again. We are experiencing a few technical difficulties. Disability chat will start just as soon as we are able to rectify the audio problem that we're having. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. We think we have solved the problem. Allison should be on momentarily.
I am here.
Okay. Allison, we have done our introduction, so if you'd like to begin your chat, that would be fantastic.
Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties moving the presentation. There we go. Sorry for the technical difficulties today. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking to everybody about work credits and how to qualify for disability. So this presentation is an overview of Social Security's work credit criteria, how to earn work credits, and benefit options for those with limited or no work credits. So first I'm going to talk about work credits in general, then I'm going to go over Social Security disability, who is not eligible for benefits, and alternate disability benefit options. So what are work credits? Some of you may have heard this term when working with Social Security in the past or checking your Social Security statement, but most people are not familiar with work credits. Work credits are very important. They are the foundation of every disability claim. In fact, they are the building blocks needed to qualify for every Social Security benefit. Work credits are determined by your personal earnings and work history. You will not be eligible for benefits, disability, or retirement if you do not have enough work credits. So there are 4 types of Social Security benefits that you earn by accumulating work credits. So there's Social Security retirement benefits, Social Security disability benefits, Social Security survivor benefits, and Medicare. Each of these benefits has a different eligibility criteria and requires different numbers of work credits, some fewer than others, which I will go over in more detail later. But again, the important thing to note is you cannot be eligible for any of these benefits if you do not pay into Social Security. Eligibility for all of these benefits is completely dependent on the number of work credits that you earn in your lifetime and are reported to Social Security. Now that we have a better understanding of what work credits are and why we need them, the next question is, how do you earn work credits? It is very easy to earn work credits. In 2019, you receive 1 work credit for every $1,360 of earnings that you make. You can earn up to 4 credits per year, which means earning $5,440 or more this year would max out your credits. And every year, the amount of earnings needed for 1 credit goes up slightly because that takes into consideration inflation and the cost of living adjustment. So as long as you earn a total of $5,440 this year, you will earn all of your work credits for the year, even if you earn all of that money in 1 month. This is beneficial to know because it means that you do not have to work very much to continue earning work credits. This is a nice infographic to show the concept of work credits and to show that they are the building blocks of Social Security benefits. This image is slightly outdated because, again, the amount to earn 1 credit this year is $1,360. You want to make sure you earn as many work credits as possible. So what income counts towards work credits? There are 3 main types of income sources that count towards work credits. A traditional paycheck, so if you're a salaried or wage employee, these are the people that get a W-2 during tax season. This also includes self-employed individuals. There's also commission and tips, and vacation and severance pay. For self-employment, credits are based on net income, not gross earnings. So if you have a company and your company makes $100,000 gross per year, but after expenses, you only net $40,000 per year, that is what counts to your credits and your work history, which we now know is more than enough. You do have to pay self-employment taxes to earn your credits. With tips, cash tips count towards work credits, but only if you actively report them and if you earn $20 or more per year. Social Security has no duty to report to other agencies like the IRS. So if you've been getting paid under the table for the last 10 years, that won't go reported, but it means you'll not be eligible for disability or retirement. So to reiterate, you need work credits for retirement benefits, disability benefits, survivor benefits, and Medicare. Now I'm going to go into more detail about the 4 different Social Security benefits and how many credits are needed to be eligible for each. So first, retirement. You need 40 credits or 10 years worth of work to be eligible for retirement. It does not have to be recent work, and your full retirement age is dependent on your birthday. A lot of people think it's age 65, but in actuality, most people in this country are going to retire at age 67. And while you only need 10 years worth of work to be eligible for retirement, continuing to work will continue to increase your benefit amount once you retire. So credits needed for disability. The credits needed for disability depend on your age when you become disabled. The younger you are, the fewer credits you need to be eligible for disability. So if you become disabled before age 24, you need 6 credits earned in the 3 years before you became disabled. So, example, if you became disabled this year, 2019, at age 23, you'll need to have earned a total of 6 work credits between 2015 and 2018. If you're between ages 24 and 30, you generally need credits for 1/2 of the time between age 21 and the time you became disabled. I understand that this is a confusing topic. The point of this is really to highlight that the younger you are and you become disabled, the fewer credits you need. You do not have to personally keep track of your credits, but I want you to be aware that credits exist and how to earn them. And then if you are disabled at age 31 or older, you need at least 20 credits in the last 10 years immediately before you became disabled. This chart really shows how many years of work you need depending on how old you are when you become disabled. But really the most important thing is if you cannot work anymore because of a disability, because of Huntington's disease, the earlier you apply for disability, the better. So credits needed for survivors. So Social Security provides incomes to the families of workers who die. So survivors benefits, if you pass away, the survivors benefits are what's going to go to your family. The number of years you need to work for your family to be eligible for survivor benefits, again, depends on your age when you die, just like with disability. You do not need as many survivor credits for your family to get benefits when you die. There are 2 ways Social Security looks at credits. You either need to be currently insured or fully insured. If you're currently insured, it means you have at least 6 credit earned in the last 4 years, ending the year that you die, ending the quarter that you die. And if you are currently insured, that means your surviving spouse caring for a child under the age of 18 can get benefits, and it means any children you have under the age of 18 can get benefits. If you're fully insured, which again is based on age, in addition to the benefits stated above, your spouse would also be eligible for retirement benefits, widow benefits, and disability benefits. And the biggest difference between currently insured and fully insured is someone that may have gaps in their work history or an inconsistent work history. And last is Medicare. So you don't technically need credits for Medicare, but it helps reduce the Part A premium. And essentially, if you have 40 credits once you reach retirement age, there will be no Part A premium. If you have less than 30 credits, your premium would be $437 per month. And if you have between 30 and 39 credits, that amount would be $240 per month, in addition to any other Medicare costs that you would have. The one exception is with disability. If you are found disabled, the number of credits you have is not a factor and Part A will be free. So now I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about Social Security disability because this is the probably the most important reason people are here for this presentation today, and this is really where work credits become an issue. So Social Security Disability is the federal benefit program designed to provide long-term financial and medical insurance assistance. Like we've been talking about, it's the work-based credit program, so you have to pay into the system to be eligible. It's for anyone between the ages of 18 and 60 or 67, and the number of credits that you need depend on your age. The benefit amount you will receive also depends on how much you pay into the system. The amount is different for everyone. The national average is $1,200 per month, but the maximum benefit is up to $2,861 per month. So if you make $1,000 a year, you will get more in disability than someone who makes $40,000 a year. So again, it just completely depends on your work history. And credits do expire once you stop working. Generally, they expire after 5 years if you have a consistent work history. But again, if your work history is sporadic or you took time off to have children, that does impact how much time you have to apply for disability. This program is not intended to be a quick fix. This is a lengthy process, and the purpose is to gain benefits for an extended period of time, anywhere from 1 year to the rest of a person's life. And you do get Medicare if you are approved for disability. There is the 2-year waiting period. An application for disability can take anywhere from 6 to 36 months. You can see the different length of time for the initial application, reconsideration, and administrative law judge hearing. Huntington's disease does qualify for compassionate allowance, which should help expedite the claim through the system. And that's important to note. And after an approval, a disability case is reviewed every 1 to 7 years. And so this depends on the severity of the case and the likelihood of improvement. Huntington's disease cases are generally reviewed once every 5 to 7 years because there isn't likelihood for improvement. And Social Security disability does switch to retirement once full retirement age is reached. So moving forward, anybody who has a birthday on or after 1960, their full retirement age will be 67 years old. So how do you check if you have enough work credits for disability or any of these other benefits? The easiest way is to create a mysocialsecurity.gov account to determine your eligibility. You go online, you put in your information, it creates an account, and you can see your eligibility for disability, retirement, and everything else all in one place. It will tell you, this box is taken word for word from Social Security, so it will tell you you've worked enough credits to qualify for disability benefits, and it will tell you how much you're going to get a month. Social Security no longer sends out paper statements, so you do have to check this on your own. And the other way you can check is you can call your local Social Security field office or the National Social Security number to get your date last insured. And the link included in the presentation will take you to your location finder, and it will give you the phone number to your field office. I always recommend calling the field office. It takes a lot less time. It's not likely you're going to sit on hold for an hour, and they're the people who have the direct information about you. And if you do submit a disability claim, the only person who can give you information about your claim will be your local Social Security field office. So, what is your date last insured? Your date last insured is the date when your eligibility for Social Security disability runs out. So for disability purposes, there's medical criteria for a disability claim, and there's non-medical criteria for a disability claim. This is part of the non-medical criteria. Your DLI, or your date last insured, is based completely on your personal work history. And your DLI will end in one of the 4 dates listed at the bottom. So it'll either end in March 31st of a year, June 3rd, September 30th, or December 31st. If you've had a very consistent work history and there are not gaps, your date last insured will likely be December 31st. And since it's 2019, your DLI as of this year would likely be December 31st of 2024, which means you have plenty of time to apply for disability if that becomes an issue. So what happens if you have an old date last insured? It is possible to get a disability approval with an old date last insured, but it is a lot more difficult and a lot more complicated. For Social Security disability, you need medical evidence prior to your date last insured indicating that you had symptoms of Huntington's disease at that time and it caused an inability to work. It is okay if you did not have a formal diagnosis of Huntington's disease prior to your date last insured, but you have to have evidence of symptoms. So if you had memory loss that was documented by your primary care physician or a psychiatrist, if you had chorea, any symptoms that were documented by your doctors, they just may not have given you a correct diagnosis, that's okay. You can still use that information to submit a disability claim. But if there is no medical evidence before your date last insured, then there is no claim for Social Security disability. Social Security disability is a legal proceeding just like anything else, and you do have to have evidence to support your claim. If there's no medical evidence, then there's no evidence. So what happens if you don't have a date last insured at all? And this does happen sometimes. It means you did not work enough, or you did not work at all, or you didn't pay into the Social Security system. In some cases, you may have paid into a private pension program, so you still may be eligible for disability benefits under that private program. One example that comes to mind is OPERS, the Ohio Public Education and Retirement System. If you work in the state of Ohio as a teacher, you pay into OPERS, not Social Security. So when you retire, you get your benefits from OPERS. So if you would need to submit a disability claim, you would also submit it through OPERS. You may still be eligible for the non-financial Social Security benefits like Medicare if you do pay into one of those private programs. So now that we've talked about eligibility, who is not eligible for Social Security disability benefits? So workers with too few credits, so people who didn't work enough. Workers with credits that are too old, so that means they haven't worked recently enough. Workers who move to certain countries. So this is a special category. These are individuals who may actually be eligible for disability. You can live outside of the United States and receive disability and retirement benefits. But there are 26 countries where you cannot live, where the U.S. Department of Treasury will not send payments. Examples of these countries include Cuba, North Korea, Belarus, Moldova, Ukraine, and Vietnam. So you could be someone who decides to apply for disability, you're approved, you're getting benefits, but if you want to move to Cuba, your benefits will stop. There's also certain legal immigrants. They're immigrants who didn't work long enough or could possibly be receiving benefits from their own country. Again, the United States does have some agreements with other countries that do recognize other countries' benefits. Also certain government employees. If you worked for the federal government prior to 1984, you paid into a different system. So again, it would be like a private disability system. And so you wouldn't have been paying into Social Security. And then finally, self-employed tax evaders. So again, these are the people who you may not have been consciously tax evading, but you didn't report what you earned to the federal government. I have had a number of clients in this situation where it was not a conscious decision, but the only jobs that they could find were paid under the table. When it came time for them to apply for disability, they had very limited options. So it's good to be aware of that. If you do work on your own, you need to make sure you report the taxes, or you have to understand that you're not paying into Social Security, so you will not be eligible for benefits. So what happens if you do not qualify for Social Security disability benefits? There are a few other options. There's supplemental security income, adult child disability benefits, and disabled widow benefits. While there are these alternate options, these options have very strict criteria, and it is much harder to be eligible for these benefit programs. The safer and more financially stable program is SSDI, or Social Security Disability Insurance. So what is supplemental security income? Again, it's another kind of federal benefit program, but this program is for those with limited financial resources and limited work history. So there's no age or work credit criteria for this benefit program. You just have to follow strict financial requirements. So for an individual, you cannot have more than $2,000 in resources, and for a couple, you cannot have more than $3,000 in resources. And resources include everything from a checking account, a savings account, a 401k, any other kind of retirement account. If you own more than one home, if you own more than one car, if you own an additional piece of property, even if you're not doing anything with the property. anything. They look at a lot of things that count for resources, which makes this a difficult benefit. For many individuals with HD, this program is the only option. Because too much time has passed since they stopped working, or they didn't get the proper medical care when they did stop working to show they were disabled before their DLI expired. Maximum possible benefit under SSI is $771 per month, which again is a lot less than the national average for Social Security disability insurance, which again is about $1,250 a month. And this amount is impacted by in-kind support in your living situation, etc. So let's say your brother has Huntington's disease and he's living with you and your family. He doesn't pay rent, he doesn't contribute to the household. Well, for Social Security purposes, that means you provide a lot of support to him. So his benefit will be reduced by at least a third because he is living in your household and not contributing. And a lot of people in SSI receive less than the maximum benefit. And this is difficult too because this program creates a burden on families because it often requires divorce to meet the strict financial eligibility criteria. So while the requirements for SSI are different than SSDI, the application process is pretty much the same. The biggest difference is the application has to be completed in person. The Social Security disability benefits application can be completed online, but the application process takes the same amount of time. The same rules apply, the same disability review period is in effect. The biggest difference with SSI is you have to continue to follow the strict financial requirements. Social Security checks financial status and will take benefits away if you go over the financial limits. It is your responsibility to notify Social Security if there are any changes in financial status from month to month. If Social Security discovers that you have been paying too much because they have been paying you too much because you no longer meet the resource limit, they will stop your benefits and you might have to repay them thousands of dollars, which is an overpayment. And I don't want anyone to be in that situation. And another thing to know, Social Security back pay will be counted towards resources after 9 months. So let's say it took you 3 years to get a decision from Social Security. You had to go to a hearing and they found you had been disabled during that entire 3-year period. So you will get a nice big lump sum payment. If you do not spend that lump sum payment within 9 months, that will count back towards your $2,000 or $3,000 resource limit. So the next kind of benefit is the adult child disability benefits. Again, another federal program designed to provide long-term financial and medical insurance assistance. This program is designed to protect adults that became disabled before age 22 and were not able to work or earn work credits on their own. This is a child's benefit because it is paid on a parent's Social Security earnings record. And the definition of child is really broad. It includes a biological child, an adopted child, stepchild, grandchild, step-grandchild. So to be eligible for this program, the adult child has to be unmarried, age 18 or older. They have to have been disabled before age 22, and they must meet the definition of disability for adults. Adult child must also not have substantial earnings, so they have to be making less than $1,220 per month. And what really makes this complicated is an adult child can only receive benefits if their parent is disabled, retired, or deceased. This is another application that has to be completed in person because it's also being completed with a parent's Social Security number. Again, the application process looks the same as the other programs. They look at the same medical criteria, the same disability listing applies if you apply for adult child disability benefits. But you have to make sure that the person became disabled between the ages of 18 and 22 and that they have an adult that is either disabled, retired, or deceased. There are some circumstances where an adult child beneficiary can keep their benefits when they get married, but that's only if they marry another adult child beneficiary. So essentially you have to have 2 adult child beneficiaries that marry each other. And in many cases with adult child disability benefits, the disabled child will have to apply for SSI first because their parent is not disabled, retired, or deceased. Only when one of those conditions has been met can the benefits switch over. This is not as much of an issue in the HD community, but I want everyone to be aware that some adult children have to wait a few years before they are eligible for this benefit. So in some cases, let's say the adult child is 20. When they become disabled, they don't have any work credits on their own, but their parents, neither of their parents are disabled, retired, or deceased at this time. So they have to apply for SSI. So 10 years later, at age 30, one of their parents retires. At that point, they can switch their SSI benefit to the adult child disability benefit. And that happens fairly often, that children have to switch from one benefit to another because of the parent criteria. And the last type of benefit is the disabled widow's benefit. So benefits may be paid to a widow, widower, or surviving divorced spouse with a disability if the disabled individual is between ages 50 and 60, their condition meets the definition of disability for adults, and the disability started before or within 7 years of the worker's or the spouse's death. Example, if a widow became disabled immediately after her spouse's death, but she did not reach the age of 50 within 7 years of her spouse's death, she will not be eligible for benefits. There is an exception. If a widow first received mother or father's benefits for caring for children, so you can receive that benefit if your spouse dies and your children are under the age of 18, the 7-year period starts when the mother or father's benefits end. So example, let's say a wife with the Huntington's gene is 39 when her husband passes away. She is not symptomatic at this time, but she has an 11-year-old child. The wife will get mother's benefits until she is 46 years old when the child turns 18. At that time, she has become symptomatic, which is within 7 years of age 50, so she will be able to apply for disabled widow's benefits as soon as she turns 50 years old. And I know that's complicated, and this benefit it's definitely a more difficult benefit to be eligible for, because someone meeting benefits specifically between the ages of 50 and 60 and meeting all the other criteria is difficult, but it is another benefit option. And again, disabled widows benefits, the medical criteria are the same as all the other benefits that we've talked about today. Again, widowers, widowers, and surviving divorced spouses can only apply in person for the benefits because you have to put 2 Social Security numbers on the account. So really the only difference is the non-medical criteria. The most important things to remember really with work credits from this presentation and for disability is that they have to be earned within the last 3 to 10 years before you file for disability. You cannot wait to apply. If you stopped working in 2010 but did not think to apply for disability until 2019, it is too late. And another important thing to remember is the biggest difference between retirement benefits and disability benefits is you have to wait to apply for retirement benefits, but you cannot wait to apply for disability benefits. So are there any questions today?
Thank you, Allison. That was a really fantastic presentation. We do actually have a couple of questions for you. It's, can you explain borrowed work credits from spouses at some point, please?
So I'm assuming you can't really borrow work credits from spouses, but that would be the disabled widow's benefits or the survivor's benefits. So if you, like, again, if you're between the ages of 50 and 60, you can get benefits under a spouse's account, but that's only if they passed away. So unfortunately, there really aren't very many options for borrowing from a spouse's account. It's not as flexible as it is with retirement. So it's a lot easier to get retirement under your spouse's account. Once you've both reached the age of 62, whoever has more in benefits, that's whose account you'll pull from. But that's not really how it works with disability. So it's not borrowing, you just have eligibility under. So if you were a stay-at-home mom and you only worked for 10 years and your husband worked for 40 years and his disability benefit would be $2,500 or his retirement benefit would be $2,500 a month and yours would only be $400, it would be, you would automatically just pull under his retirement because that would mean you'd get $1,200, which is significantly more than what you would get under retirement. They don't have that option for disability.
Okay, we have a kind of follow-up question here. A disabled patient was told she could borrow work credits from her spouse since she needs one more credit to qualify for SSDI and the husband is still working?
That is not something I am familiar with. I will look into it and get back to whoever asked that question, but I have never heard in my years of doing this of borrowing a credit.
Okay. On a different note, can you talk a little about lag period and lag earnings?
Whoever asked that question, you're on top of things. So lag earnings, how that works is usually, so when you submit your taxes for 2019, your disability work credits are a little bit behind. And so when you're applying for Social Security disability, if you request Social Security factor in those lag earnings, they have to do so. And so lag earnings is really, let's say, Social Security has only processed your credits through 2019 for your taxes through 2019, so they don't recognize the earnings you have this year. And so from their perspective, you're 2 credits short. But because you've made $5,500 this year, you've earned all of your 4 credits, you would have to show your W-2 statement, you'd have to show all of your earning statements from this year and submit them to Social Security along with your claim and say, please process my lag earnings because I do actually have all the credits. You just haven't processed them yet because you don't have my tax returns from the IRS.
Thank you. Does my spouse's income affect my disability?
No, your spouse's income, unless you're only eligible for SSI, does not impact your Social Security disability. So through the work credit program, Social Security only looks at your personal work history and your work credits and what you've paid into the system. So if your spouse is a millionaire, that doesn't impact your Social Security disability insurance at all.
Okay. So if I only need to show I have work credits for the past 10 years, why does Social Security ask to see my last 15 years of work history on the application?
So that's a good question. And the reason they do that is because it's looking at 2 different things. That's looking at both the non-medical criteria and the medical criteria of the claim. So the work credits is the non-medical criteria, which we talked about in the presentation. The 15 years of work history, that's actually going to the medical component of your claim. And Social Security wants to see your past 15 years of work history because they want to see if you can do your most recent job or any other job that you've done. And so it's really about how your symptoms impact your ability to do work and any work that you may have done in the past.
So if I apply for SSDI in 2019, does 2010 get counted?
Yes.
Okay. All right. If I don't have enough work credits, can I earn more?
Yes, you can earn more. And that's kind of that's why the lag earnings question was important, because that person is continuing to earn work credits. And so I think it ultimately depends on how many credits you're short. And that's a conversation you would have to have with Social Security. They would be able to tell you how many credits you have and how many credits you need. So they would be able to help you figure out how much you need to work. But you can continue to earn credits and work towards Social Security disability. I've actually spoken to people this year who are currently doing that. So it is an option and you can do that.
Okay, thank you. Should I file my taxes separately for my spouse?
No, you do not need to file taxes separately from your spouse because, again, it's not about taxes, it's just about your work. So your W-2, even if you submit both your husband's W-2 and your W-2 at the same time for your taxes, they're still separate W-2s, and Social Security is really just looking at your W-2 form.
Okay. So how do you verify rent payments from adult child staying at home who pays with cash?
So Social Security doesn't really verify the payment itself. What Social Security wants to see is a lease agreement. They're not actually going to follow up to confirm if the rent is paid. They just really want to see a lease agreement. Some written legal document that you can take to them and be like, hey, this person's paying rent because they've signed this agreement. They don't really follow up on the payments themselves.
Okay. All right, we do have a little bit more time, so if anybody would like to send a question to Allison, we're going to keep the lines open for another 2 or 3 minutes, but we have gone through all of the questions that have been sent in to date. Allison, is there anything else you'd like to add based upon the questions that have been asked of you thus far?
Ooh. Things to add. It's really important for record keeping. Like, record keeping is a very important component in this process, and especially with you're working with a Huntington's disease population, if the person with HD is still able to keep working, but they're not necessarily great about keeping track of their records at this point, someone needs to help them. So you can make sure that they are earning the work credits they need to apply for disability, and so you can make sure they don't ever have to pay Social Security back because they worked too much. I have worked with HD families who, after they were approved for disability, they kept working, but they worked more than they were supposed to and then ended up having to owe Social Security $20,000. You do not want to be in that situation. And so it's good to provide as much assistance as possible and to help keep track of these things.
So how often, when a person with Huntington's disease is applying for disability, do they actually hire an attorney to help them with the process versus you're kind of filling out the application and then you're seeking assistance from someone like you?
So honestly, I'm not sure. That's a really good question, and we don't have the stats to track that. I think one of the issues is there are a lot of attorneys who don't actually help with cases at the initial application level because there's not as much of a financial incentive. Unless you're applying for unless you haven't worked for like more than a year, you're not going to get back pay. And generally, disability attorneys only get paid if you're going to get back pay, or they'll charge some nominal fee to do it up front. So there's not as much of a financial assistant, or there's not as much of a financial incentive to help. For instance, if you can't afford to pay an attorney and you wanted to go through legal aid organizations only take cases at the hearing level. They will not touch a case at any other level. It can be really beneficial to get an attorney at the initial application level because they would be more aware of things like lag earnings and how to keep track of the work credits. But I don't know how many of them there are. And I don't know how many HD families actually try to find an attorney before starting this process.
Thank you. All right, well, it doesn't appear that we have any more questions. I do want to remind folks, though, first, thank you for taking the time to join us for Disability Chat today. And remember that the presentation will be available on HDSA's YouTube channel or by going to hdsa.org/disabilitychat. Our next chat will be on November 21st. And we will be discussing the 5-step evaluation, how Social Security evaluates a disability claim, and what evidence you need. So hopefully you can join us then, and thank you very much for attending today. Bye-bye.